Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another one of our heart-powered, inspiring interview series. And we have a wonderful lady with us today, and she is really, she's gonna inspire you and shares great insights on how you tame your tech monster. Well, who is she? She's a wonderful lady. Her name is Anke Herrmann, and she's an online tech expert, a coach, and the author of Taming the Tech Monster. She started her entrepreneurial journey in 2004 already when she quit her software developer job in the UK. She then from there moved to Spain, which I think is what a lot of people want to do. So, she combined the juiciness of going from the UK to Spain and starting her business. So she started in the first place a sewing business. And then she soon realized that building a business really is a creative process, and the same as sewing a dress or developing a software is a magical mix of vision, skill, and soul. And it's so true, Anke. And she now knows, and she also really, she knows how to bring simplicity, trust, and transparency to online tech to help passion-driven coaches grow their business beyond one-on-one without all these techy headaches. So, Anke, it's wonderful to have you today. Welcome.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. So let's jump right in. We always love to know from all of our guests, what are your juicy three things that you do right now to bring your own speaking and maybe also your business, obviously the business and the speaking to a next level? What are your three best practices right now?
Well, my top three things are I started quite a while ago. I started to host mini summits. So they work brilliantly to build my own audience and my email list. So that is, and they also help build relationships with the other speakers, which then always leads to other opportunities. And so that's been brilliant. The other thing is that I've really doubled down on, call it relationship marketing, because I took stock last couple of years ago and said, well, okay, where is it that my best opportunities come from? And I found, well, actually, in my software career, in my sewing business, and now it's always the same thing. The best things happen through people I know. There's always like, hey, you should speak to so and so, right? So, and I'm like, well, why don't I double down on that? So I have been. That's what I've been doing, and yeah, and on the other part, it's probably a little bit more technical, that I've basically started to offer my own platform that takes care of everything that I usually work with my clients on, so I don't have to go and support 50 million platforms to help people. So which makes life a lot easier. So just to consolidate what what I'm offering and simplifying basically.
I love that. So let's go into these three things in a little more detail, Anke, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one about speaking about summits. So, as you know, that we also help a lot of people step up professionally with their speaking and get booked more. And we teach them like a roadmap of how to discover the right stages, how to get booked there. How do you do it? What do you do to really get and secure speaking gigs on summits? What are your best practices around that?
Well, it's actually quite interesting because hosting my own is probably like the best thing, because it's usually how you meet speakers, and they often have connections to people who host events, or they host their own events. And I also have, let's call it default answer, yes, if there is an event that, where I think, well, that does make sense. It's the topic or the target audience that speaks to the people that I'm working with. And if there is an offer, I don't ask too many questions. And it's interesting how often that happens. Like I was literally recently on a like mega huge summit, and I don't usually like doing these big summits because if you're one of 70 speakers, like, not, you don't get an awful lot of visibility. But there was literally, I was like, well, it was almost like a gut feel, and I'm like, yeah, okay, why not? Why not? And so they had all these different people who would interview, take care of the interviews. There was so many different speakers all at the same time. Well, turns out I connected with another speaker, so there's already another partnership there. And then the person who interviewed me, she reached out to me literally the other week and says, hey, I want you to come and speak over here. So I think it's always that really cultivating those relationships, you know. And I mean, I'm in groups, and I'm in you know, networking masterminds, that kind of thing. And I'm also in a mastermind where it's specifically about building that network. So it's very much about connecting with people, and you know, speaking and hosting, and I think
Right.
that's how opportunities come.
And a lot of people think like, oh my God, you know what? I'd love to run my own summits, but you know, what are the most critical success factors for really putting your own summit together? And I know we could probably spend the next 5 hours on that, right? Why don't
Yes.
you give us some of the most critical ones that you say, hey, these are things that a lot of people ignore, and that's why they come back and say my summit is not working. So what are some of
Yes.
the things that people should really pay attention to?
Yes. Like, good question, because I remember the first time I got together with a bunch of friends and we hosted one, it went fully pear-shaped. So I know from first-hand experience what happens when you don't get it right.
Right.
And the number one key factor is the topic. And it's, I think, what I see so often, and what we did wrong too when we had our little disaster, was that we were looking at the topic that was covering things that we wanted to share with people, right? We didn't really come at it from the angle, what will the target audience, like the people who, like, you know, you have to be clear who this is for. Like, that's to start with, right? And once you're really clear on that, you need to think about what is it that these people are so interested in that they will gift you with their precious time, right?
Yes.
And if you don't come from that angle, and if you come out with some topic just because you think they should know about this, you're probably going to be by yourself there, you know. So that is probably, yeah, if there was only one, that's the one, to be really, really intentional and precise and careful around the topic and the positioning of that, and make sure, you know, it really attracts the right people to it. And I think the other part that people often, especially when they haven't hosted one before, it's like, who do you choose as your speakers, right? So, I mean, I remember the first time I hosted one, there was a friend of mine, she goes, oh, I can be a speaker. And I'm like, no, you can't, right? Because especially when the intention is to grow your audience, you can't have speakers who don't have an audience, right? Or who have an audience who are totally different. You know, well, it's your choice, but then they will not bring subscribers. They may make the topic interesting, but you need to be really, really conscious and careful to get the right speakers, because otherwise you might either not get subscribers at all, or people attending, or it might be the wrong people. So yeah, and I think people often struggle with that. You know,
Yeah.
they get together with a bunch of mates and it just doesn't really go anywhere. You know, and I think also I mean, if there was a number three, I'd say be conscious of the fact that you have to earn people's attention. So more volume, more material isn't necessarily better, you know. So it's not, you know, yeah, I think shorter formats, and you know, I've played around with audio podcasting style things that work really well, because people love it, because it's not, they're not tied to the screen, it's not that much, so there isn't that sense of overwhelm. So more isn't necessarily better. I think it's a matter of getting creative when it comes to the format.
Absolutely. And thank you. That these are three really golden nuggets. So that's what everyone should keep in mind. And I fully agree, because we are running online challenges and events, and that's exactly what we are paying attention to. So, you know, you also spoke about, you know, relationship marketing and how that is, how you double down on that, and how that is becoming a major success factor for you in your business. What are the things that you do that might not be as common, that, you know, because a lot of people think like, yeah, I need to reach out, right, and all of that. But you know, what are your relationship marketing related things that you do that you feel like, hey, I didn't know that at the beginning, but now since I'm doing that, it really creates a greater attention, attraction, relationships, and results for myself and business and the people involved, because it's always a win-win, right? So what are the
Absolutely, it has to be.
ingredients?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I didn't understand when I had my sewing business, which grew purely by word of mouth. So it was great, but it also put me in a bit of a passive position. So there was always like I was sitting there waiting for people to come to me, right? Which is fine, but it kind of makes it really hard to be strategic about the growth of your business, right? So now what I've learned is how to be strategic about building those partner relationships, right? And there was somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody explained how to be really effective when you choose partners, right? Because what works really well when you look at somebody is on a journey to create something, to do something, right? And so everybody comes in on that journey at a particular point in time. So I'm coming in there to work with clients. They have a problem. That's why they come to me. So we work together. We solve that problem. But the very nature of solving this problem kind of creates the next problem, right? So you're basically on this timeline of problem solving. So your best partners are the people who create the problem that you solve and the ones who solve the problem you create. So they're literally sitting right next to you on that journey of your ideal client. And if you look at it through that lens, you'll find opportunities with people that you would have never even thought of, right? And it's really, really helpful because then there's that, it makes sense. We're not stepping on each other's toes, or it's, and it isn't disjointed. And I think the other part that I never really understood was how important it is and how much easier things get when you help your partners refer you. Like when you can be really clear in how you explain to them and how they can recognize somebody who would be a great client for me. Because if they don't know as well, I don't know, then they kind of make up what they think you do, and that may not always be the right thing. So the more you can help them and be very clear and say, well, if you like, what would somebody say that would make me recognize that, oh, this is somebody I might be able to help, and literally teach your partners how to recognize your clients and what you do. The more they know about it, the better they can help you. And obviously it works both ways, but to be really clear on that is really, really made a huge difference.
I love that, Anke. And I know that, Anke, you are helping people most and foremost really to tame their tech monster, right? And tame tech monster in their business. So you're obviously offering a tech platform and your own platform that now you're creating and upgrading. That you said that it's something that you do in your business, so it really covers the elements that are most critical for you to actually get tech support, because as we always say, if we want to grow our business, right, we need to get more done in a shorter period of time. And that can only be done, I love the principle where you say, and it's something a friend of mine said years ago. He said, Monique, in business, always eliminate, automate, delegate, right? So
Yes.
whatever we can
In
eliminate,
that sequence,
right?
absolutely.
In that sense, right? And then the automation part is where you come in, where you help people tame the tech monsters. So what are some of the critical processes that you feel a lot of, especially you work a lot with coaches, a lot of coaches struggle with, that they would love to automate and to really get technical support on, but for whatever else they feel like they're facing a tech monster? What are some of these pros and things that you would suggest coaches or expert entrepreneurs to start looking at first, that will help them really bring their business to the next level when they automate it?
Yeah, I think the problem that I see, people come to me because they find, they have a tech monster. Tech is, they kind of know they need tools to make things more efficient, but there's so much conflicting information that they quite often don't really know what they need and where to start and all of that. And I think the biggest mistake I see is that people jump to the tools too quickly. Mm-hmm. Right? They go from vague idea to what platform do I need, right? Or there's somebody recommends a platform, now they sign up, and then I'm like, well, I don't know, like, do I need drip content? I don't know what that is. I don't know what I needed. I don't know what the implications are. So it's always about, let's just take a step back and don't skip the, eliminate, don't, basically think through what the experience you want to create actually should be.
Yes.
Right. And I think if you look at the elements that are involved in offering your services online, which includes marketing, selling, and delivering them. So, well, yeah, you need to have a way to connect with potential clients. You need to have a way for them to pay you, and you need to have a way for you to deliver what people just bought. In my experience, I usually recommend starting with the delivery element and get more efficient there first, right? So it's almost like a lot of people jump to the tech kind of too soon, where I'm thinking initially it's in your best interest to sell it first. Like, sell what you've got, like prove that you actually have a product and validate the idea. And that's something that is probably the biggest mistake I see people make, that they think they need a funnel and sophisticated tech stuff before they can ever sell a program. So I usually suggest, and it's very much borrowed, the process is very much borrowed from how software is developed. It's like, no, we need to kind of have something, the smallest possible thing, and sell it first. And once you know you can sell it, now we want to make that whole process more efficient. And I usually recommend start from the back and make the delivery more efficient, and then how people buy it. Whereas people usually jump on the marketing front, and there's no point that to make the marketing more efficient when you can't handle in the back end what's coming in. So I think until you have your back end ducks in a row, it's not in your best interest to kind of turn the tap on the front. So I think start in the back end and work your way to the front.
I fully agree on that. And I think you just kind of really, created some like a light bulb effect for some people, where they say everyone is starting on the marketing and sales side first, right? And you're fully right. What if you start getting clients through it? And often enough, it's actually the issue is once people haven't solidly created their story and message that then helps them to sell, right, what they want to offer, again, there's nothing coming out of it, and they can have it technically set up in the smartest and in the greatest way, and nothing comes out of it.
Absolutely.
Right. So, I also know people always say, hey, what, as entrepreneurs, and I love, Anke, you're like me, right? We are action takers, right? And, again, the action we take consistently day in, day out is pretty much what we call a habit. And people are always interested to hear from successful entrepreneurs like you and I, what is one habit? What is one thing you do on a consistent, regular basis that helps you to thrive with your business? What would you say?
I mean, you're probably going to laugh at this, but I always say, well, in case of doubt, try it out, right? So it's like, in case of doubt, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to see what happens. So I will take imperfect action, but I find I learn everything I need to learn from taking that action. So I'm not going to sit there wondering and see whether I can think it all through to the very end, and then I'm going to plan, no, like, I'm going to take action first, and I'm okay with not everything turning out the way I plan. So, and I think that sort of action first is really, really helpful, because that's the thing. It's like most of the times there's things you cannot figure out, opportunities who cannot unfold in front of you if you don't start moving. So I think start moving is kind of, and I'm okay with not knowing necessarily where something leads, because in my experience, and it's kind of a little arrogant to think you can. So yeah.
And again, once we take action, we see what evolves, and we see if we get into flow, and if things flow easily, right?
Absolutely.
And if not, let's not go for it, right?
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, great. So now what we always do at these interviews is we ask our guests, right, to give people like one hint, one action. We play always, with all of you. And by the way, thank you for being on with us again and for being loyal and, following our interview series and allowing us to inspire you. But we always, as you know, every time we have a little bit of a challenge for you. We always give you one action that we invite you to take, so that the inspiration you take away from our interview with Anke today is turned into action, because only action is going to get you results, right? So Anke, what is one action, from our conversation today that you invite people to take today so they start moving forward?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I think it really indicates like my core belief that what looks like a tech problem never is. So I think the action I'd like to give to people is to reach out to 3 people that you've worked with before, or you might have talked about working together, and check in with them and have a conversation and see where they're at. It's got nothing to do with tech, and it's got everything to do with tech, right? Because it's literally that point of there is no point building something if you don't know that it's what actually people need, what people want, what people will be prepared to pay for. And unless you speak to them, you're not going to know. Like, you're the last person to know. If you're the expert, you're the last person to know. And so, and I think it's also the most uncomfortable task I could probably give people, because it would have been so easy to say, hey, sign up for a little Tinker Tool and, and get lost in the tech jungle. But that's not where the success of the business comes. Like, the most important part is there's no point, it doesn't matter how far you run if you run in the wrong direction. So the task is to make sure you're running in the right direction.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay. Especially, tech queen like you is saying, hey, do something non-techy first and then free, right? Again, only when you know what your partners need and want and how they can actually more actively refer you, and also, to really find out what do people in general want and how can you support them with your business. When that is crystal clear and people start actually queuing at your door, then you can start thinking about setting things up in a more automated way, right?
Absolutely.
So I'd suggest play on the challenge today. So reach out to 3 people you've been in touch with, maybe even potential clients or potential partners, and have a heart-to-heart conversation, right? And if you want to actually connect with Anke, and I know Anke, a lot of people say, oh my God, she's heaven sent, right? I really want to tame my tech monster. Okay. If you want to connect with Anke, where can they find you? Where can they best connect with you?
Well, tamingthetechmonster.com is probably the easiest place. You can get a free copy of my book there, and you can connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm kind of everywhere, easy to find. But if you grab the free copy of my book, then you're in my world, and it's going to be easy from there.
Perfect. I can't wait to read it. I mean, there's always some tech monsters that, again, as we say, next level, next devil. So there's always some tech monsters we need to tame, no matter where we are with our business. So I'm looking forward to read your book, Anke, and thank you. Thank you in the first place for being on with us today and inspiring everyone, right? And thank you all for being on and following us. And Anke, is there a final message you want to give out to round off our interview in a beautiful way?
What jumps to mind is to remember to work off the assumption that you have what it takes to figure this out, because you do.
Oh, beautiful. That's very juicy. Okay, that's a great reminder, isn't it? So all of you just, again, as we said, take the action step, reach out to 3 people, okay, turn the inspiration into action. So you start rocking the boat, right, and getting results. And, again, thank you again, Anke, for being on with us today. And then soon enough, we're going to be back with another interview. As you know, we are always interviewing amazing guests. But in the meantime, take action and, rocket yourself forward. And, as we always say, it's like speak up, scale up, impact the world, create your own magic in your own powerful way. And then we'll be in touch in our community. And all of you, have an amazing day, take action, inspired action, and start taming your tech monster. And don't forget reaching out to Anke and connecting with her to get some additional hints and tips, and definitely pick up her book. So Anke, thank you for being on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. And yeah, we'll be in touch very soon. So speak up, scale up, impact the world in your own magical way. Until soon, all the best. Cheers.
Awesome.